Hey everybody, what's good? Listen, I apologize for all the dog fur on my shirt, but my little four-legged homie there, he likes to be super close to me all the time, and he sheds like there is no tomorrow, so I do apologize for the fur. So today we're going to talk about Pete Hegseth's, speech to all the senior leadership, basically, in the U.S. Armed Forces. I've been getting asked on my socials, what do I think about it? What are my thoughts on it? Wasn't going to say anything, but I'll chime in. I've had enough people ask me that I'm just going to answer. So first, we'll talk about the whole meeting in general. The fact that it was called, who was summoned, where it occurred, how it occurred, and that sort of thing. And I gotta say that it's pretty standard, really, in the military. When somebody new takes command, it's pretty standard that they either meet with you as a group, as a whole, or as an individual, and explain to you what they expect of you. It's good leadership practice, actually, and it's how I was trained. And so Pete choosing to do this in person as opposed to via email or secure call, whatever, it was a good choice in terms of leadership. You want your people to see you, and you want to see your people. After this, sure, I mean, by all means, start passing stuff out by email or secured call. But generally speaking, again, this was a good call by Pete Hegseth. Now, Pete said a lot of things during his speech. Some of it was good, some of it was bad, some of it was just, what are you thinking? And so we'll get into that. We'll start off with the worst first, because it rhymes. So the worst thing that came out of Pete Hegseth's speech was that he would allow military leadership to put hands on troops. This is not cool. I remember this stuff going on when I first joined the Canadian Armed Forces, and it doesn't do anything to teach that soldier a lesson. All it does is it shows that soldier that they can't trust their leadership, that their leadership has no discipline, that their leadership can't control themselves. Seriously, if you need to muckle on to a troop, you have failed as a leader and as a mentor. Now, moving on from there, this male standard that he's submitted that all members will have to obtain twice a year in order to be in a combat trade. I agree with that. That there should be one set standard, and it should be a high standard, because the kit that you carry, the things you have to do, the speed you have to move at, while carrying all of this stuff, does not care what's between your legs. All right. So if you can't meet that standard, then you don't get the job. And I think that is totally acceptable, and that it's a good thing. Soldiers need to be physically fit, regardless of their sex. Now, carrying on from that physical fitness aspect of things, having fat soldiers and fat leadership is a bad look, 100%. Because, like I said earlier, physical fitness is important. It is a must for anybody in the military, all right? Regardless of where that military is, you have to be physically fit. The battlefield does not give a shit if your problem is glandular or not, all right? If you're overweight, oversized, you can't fit in and out of vehicles. Plus, you've got all your gear that you've got to wear too. They don't make fat seats in military vehicles, all right? Hate to say it. But physical fitness, this is another good thing that he is bringing about. Next, he's scrapping a lot of woke ideas, principles, training, all that kind of stuff. And you know what? I get it. Identity politics, politics in general, have no place in the military. All right? And if people have made it like that, it's a shame and it needs to be changed. And if his choices or his decisions here are to end, that sort of woke identity political garbage, good for him. It's good for a military to not be affected by sex, religion, or politics. Now, the last thing I want to touch on that Pete talked about here were these ROEs and how they deal with their own civilian population, because the U.S. military is being used to basically police U.S. cities that have gotten out of control. Now, I don't really want to talk about that, but I will say that, if you're going to be looking at using your own people as your training ground for your soldiers, that's a what are you thinking, man? Give your head a shake. I understand that a military may be required to support the government in terms of restoring order and restoring, infrastructure and protecting infrastructure. I get that. But to be looking forward to it like this, to speak about it so positively, is absolutely abhorrent. Overall, I'm torn. He's got some really good points, some really good changes to bring in, which I think is important for the effectiveness, the overall effectiveness and competency of a military. But he also says he's got some weird, far out there, tyrannical bullshit that he's also trying to bring about, which in my eyes, it kind of erodes any of the positive aspects that will be brought about by the changes that he's seeking to effect. In the end, however, people need to understand that the job of a soldier is inherently dangerous and it's extremely unique. And in order to survive those situations that you're going to be exposed to in the military, it's crucial that you have certain skills and certain abilities. And I can see him bringing these back. And while it may appear to the civilian populace that this just seems out of control, this isn't how a military should run, you're essentially armchair quarterbacks here. And yeah, you can have your opinion on what you want, but it's not necessarily holding weight. If you want to truly understand how this affects and how it's going to affect the U.S. military, listen to people in the U.S. military. Listen to people who have been in the military. Listen to those of us that have military leadership training. We're the subject matter experts, not you.